Okay, the Claude Code responded that it works. So let me try again. And I'll just select the kind of the root folder. Will it work or will it fail? What I'm going to do is just quickly say to create an issue log item and PR for the CC Telegram. This is the first recording of building AgentQuilt on my ED Circle channel. AgentQuilt will be an open source platform for agents built for any business of any size. You may have heard about Hermes Agent, Open Claude Codex, Claude Code, even Grokbot, and some of the Claude managed agents as well. What we are building is slightly different, but you'll see most of the bells and whistles they have. The difference will be who is for. So a business, not one person, where they share memory, they share skills, they have multiple agents working across multiple people. And ultimately, the agents support the business, improve it, promote it, and bring more of it. I'm building it in public on YouTube, so you can also build and learn how to build any software you may want. You'll see my decisions, my mistakes, and maybe some rollbacks if certain bits don't work. So the first thing we will do is set up our Windows machine. And I decided to go with Windows because most businesses still run on Windows. And we may build some front-end software like add-ins on Microsoft Office Suite that work within it. I will share my screen. So that's my kind of refresh page. And you can follow me on YouTube or on X if you will. So let's start with the first thing we may want to do. I want to bring my private repo, AgentQuilt Vault, where I've worked on it probably around a week or so, where we will bring locally the AgentQuilt specs that I have been having for some time. So let's start with bring this repo locally into the folder. I will create one subfolder here. I will create AgentQuilt. So this is an Obsidian Vault, and that's a great way to brain dump your thoughts so an agent can look through it. So I will go with Opus 5, medium. We may need to install GitHub and some other software stacks, but this is part of it. So this is a fresh Windows installation just with Claude on it. And I will just use Claude to work through it and install it on behalf of me. Okay, so this has been cloned successfully. And I will need to authenticate the GitHubs. GH root login. I'll go with the HTTP. Yes. And I will go with login with the browser. So this is the code that I need to make sure I copy, and then I'll just open it. Continue. And then here, I just need to copy the code. Carry on. I give full access, and I can say it is authenticated. Let me check. Okay. Now it is out. Okay. Then the next one is I will change the folder, the default folder, now to AgentQuilt so we can start working on it. So there will be multiple things that we will work on but let's start with that first. Okay. AgentQuilt, that's okay. Initialize the repo and the Obsidian vote. Okay. So we'll wait for a bit of time to come back and we will continue. Okay, so this was instated. What I will do next is I will ask to install the Telegram as well. So what we are going to do is install WSL2, so the Ubuntu distribution packages for Windows. And then we are going to set up the project with a Telegram bridge. So that will be the next thing. So let me change to Fable. I know it's a bit of an overkill, but I would rather be safe than sorry. So what I'm going to do here is just dictate. Okay, based on the repo and the direction of travel, I would like you to start setting up the WSL2, the Ubuntu distribution, and then we need to set up also the Telegram bridge, the CC-Telegram bridge, and I will need to give you my repo, but you'll be able to find it as well. Okay, while it's working, it is a public repo. You guys can install it, the Telegram bridge. It is essentially a way to manage your Claude Code remotely from anywhere using Telegram. And Telegram is great because it is free, at least at the moment, and it has great features that lets us interact with the agent properly. There will be buttons and some other kind of multi-question answers and options that you can multi-select, single select, and so on. So there are quite a lot of features that will be possible. So I can see that this is being installed, and this is the bot. So something that it is important here, please make sure that you are reading the Windows guidelines here, because I want my Windows Claude to share skills, memory, sessions, and etc. with the WSL Claude Code CLI that we are going to install there. So what we are doing here, and I probably can go and provide, okay, that's the documentation for Windows. But in essence, what we would want to do when it comes to Windows, it doesn't apply for Linux or Mac, because WSL is like a separate virtual machine. We want to share the skills, the agents, the Claude MD global directory to be shared across the two environments, so to say, to the Windows and the WSL, and you can see how that is done. So I will provide this as just as an option and just send it over as a follow-up. Okay, I can see that it's already working, creating. Okay, I think this is fine. Okay, so this is being installed, and I will come back to it when it's ready. So while it's installing, I will also mention we will need Codex CLI being installed in the VSL as part of our setup. Typically, later what you will find is that I will dictate almost every time. I rarely write to an agent. That gives me 2 to 3 times the boost, but right now we can live with that. So we'll wait for Claude Code to finish this task and come back to us. This is probably not the best way to do it, but as it is working, what I would say to it, something that I discussed previously with Fable when setting up, is to set up my development environment and essentially development folder in the VSL, in the WSL, rather than on the Windows side. I have already dev workspace on the Windows side, but that's currently only for the vault. So what I'm going to do here and say, can you please also make sure that is in your task list that we need to create dev workspace in the WSL that will be used for the development of the solutions and running there, but that also should have some kind of a network driver away from the Windows Explorer to open it and look through it relatively easily. So I've been given a few things I need to do manually on my side. So the first one is the credentials. I will need to open Telegram, and I will do that. And I think I had it. I'm surprised I didn't pin it. So this is my Windows Telegram, obviously, but typically I'll use my phone as well as the Windows app on any machine I work on. Okay, was it Godfather was saying? Let me check. Telegram. Yeah. So I need to go to Botfather. I want to create a new bot. Choose a name. So I want this to be ET Circle bot. I'll need to change the name. Okay, that's my token, which I'll obviously need to change on the video or afterward. So I will change that later. Then I need to check who will be the allowed user. So obviously it will be myself at the moment. Get my ID. Okay, let me try this one. So get my ID bot. Okay, that's my user ID as well. So let me do that. And obviously I have the token here. So what we can see here is I can run now that command, and I will say my user ID and token, and the command that runs the Claude command is dangerously skip permissions. It is very difficult to do the bridge without skipping the permissions. Okay, so once it does it for me, I'll ask it to run also that command. So the next thing we will need to do is make sure that the Claude Code and Codex are authenticated. So what I'm going to do is I'll click WSL. So then we have Claude. Let's see whether it's installed. Hopefully it is. Yeah, dark mode. I want to log in with subscription, authorizing, and that should be it. That should be simple and easy. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, trusting that folder. That's fine. Okay. That looks good to me. Let me type just hi. Okay, that's all good. Then the next one is let's check Codex, run it and authenticate, and that's it. So this should be ready now. Yeah. Okay, I can say hi. Okay, looks so good. Okay, I just allow the classifier. Okay, so still block, Dr. Runs confirm state precisely. Everything I could do is green. Okay. Okay, I can tell I've logged in already on Claude and Codex. Can you please make sure that CC Telegram runs all the time and also on Windows Restart? That should be applicable also for WSL. And can you make sure that it works at the moment? Okay. Okay, so whilst I am here, what I'm going to do is where it was really. I want to create a new group called it. And that will be just myself, and I want to add. So the group needs to have topics because each topic will be essentially different session or folder in a session. Probably it's better in understanding. We have members. What I need to do is promote the ET Circle bot to admin and then close it. Permissions, that's fine. Administrators, all looks good to me here. And now typically I always create one maintenance topic and then say hi. Okay. So then waiting for Claude to install it. You'll see it in a moment how that whole thing works. Okay, and I'll make sure that we keep it that way. Okay, so Claude again came, and I will click bypass permissions. And now, yes, please. Okay, let's see what Claude will come back with. Okay, so Claude came back. There were some problems initially networking wise, and I think it managed to do it. The bypass permission was the key. So let's come back here and say hi. That's exactly how it should be. I don't have any other folders, so I just click dev. Typically the maintenance one stays in kind of the root folder, so I'll leave it there, click select, and say hi. Okay, click hi. Something is not right. Let's see. Okay, I will do a screenshot and we'll ask to help. Help with this, please. Again, please, probably it's unnecessary. Okay, so the Claude came back in the VSL that do you trust this project and do you want to run with these dangerous skip permissions? And I want to both to be accepted. That feels like a bug in the Telegram. So I'll just make a screenshot so I can potentially fix that problem in another session. But for the interim, I will carry on. It is just that these messages we should be able somehow to cater for. Okay, Claude Code said that it works, so let me try again. And again, I'll just select the kind of the root folder. Will it work or will it fail? I may try to do it with the dev folder directly. If this doesn't work, just in case the problem is with the root. Okay. It doesn't feel like it is working. Let me try the dev folder. It doesn't look like it. Still not fixed. Okay. Okay, so Claude came back and said that it set the root, the browse root, into the development folder. So let's see again how that will work. I have Telegram there as well, but let me click select now. Okay, still not delivered. So still more problems. I will paste this issue and say we have more problems. Okay, there is definitely some problems with the Windows installation, which is great that I'm doing it here, as I will be able to fix the repo, so any users that work on Windows machines will not need to go through the same issues. Otherwise, on Mac and Linux, that won't be a problem. Okay, so Claude came back with some fixes, so let's see whether that will work. So I'll click select, and hopefully this time it works. What I'm going to do is just quickly say to create an issue log item and PR for the CC Telegram so we can fix it and apply that. Can you please open an issue and a PR for the fixes that you did for the CC Telegram package locally that we need to make sure we rectify in the main repo? I'll make sure another agent takes it over and make sure it implements any fixes that you made or any suggestions and changes that you had to do. Okay. Okay, so the next thing that I would like to do is make sure I install a plugin. And we'll wait for kind of this to finish before we continue. Okay, I will need to log in through the WSL as well. So let this right now. GH out and login. And let me check. Okay, so I did the authentication. And let me tell, I did the authentication on the terminal, but on the Windows side. Do we need to do it also on the WSL? So the next thing I want to work on is adding Hindsight. And I would ask it, can you please install plugin Hindsight for long-term memory? So these are one of the many options. You can have long-term memory set somewhere else. And I will provide Claude with some additional information. I will just copy and paste another setup. And I will say below is a config from another machine. I would like to use bank ID equals PT circle. So that runs on internal infrastructure in my house. So these are all internal IPs, but this is essentially I have a Docker container with Hindsight, which is database slash and a framework that is able to create kind of the necessary functionality for Claude to be able to recall as well as keep the files. Not files, but essentially the information that is required. So it's quite cool, it works well, and I believe it is quite important for a good project to work on. So I'll keep it to install it. And also, can we please make sure that these plugins, skills, sessions, and others are shared across both Windows Claude as well as the WSL Claude? So everything is shared and both are running correctly. Okay, so what I just saw is that my Claude, the CLI on the Windows machine is with the expired user, so to say. So what I need to do is make sure I log in again with my other user. So login, that should do. Okay, okay, that should be okay now. Okay, that looks good. So all looks installed. So it just said that my Claude CLI should be okay. And just told me, okay, that's my kind of spamming email. So it's all right. Okay, so we have Hindsight installed and it's running. It gave me some messages that I may have some problems with my Olama model, but I fixed it. There was something with the installation of Hindsight, the Docker container, which is running. I'm running an embedding model from Olama as well, and a re-ranking model running locally, 0.6 billion parameters, and then consolidation extraction model, which is also from Olama Cloud, actually. If you have enough hardware, you can it locally as well. Just let me check whether this works. It looks all right to me. So I think I can take it from there. Can you please copy the AgentQuilt vote into the WSL dev, please? So now we are going to copy the vote so I can speak over the Telegram if I have to. And just let me check. I can see that our drive is there. So that's the Linux drive that I asked to be set. So that's from the WSL machine. And now we can also, sorry, not audit, AgentQuilt. That will be our main repo here, and we'll start working on it soon. Okay, that looks good. So I can, from Telegram perspective, come here and say AgentQuilt vote and say hi. I'm just setting up, and that's similarly to what you do in the Claude application or through the CLI application, but I'm just doing it here. Okay, there is a problem, I think, because I tried to do something and it didn't work. So if I click, we still seem to have some problems with CC Telegram. And I will say here, can you please check why I cannot bind the CC Telegram to the new agent vote folder? Okay, by the looks of it, we had the same problem as the previous one. So let's do that. Hopefully it worked. Okay, that should be good now. That seems to be fine. And let me create another one, which should be AgentQuilt. And I will create multiple topics, but let's call it front end for now. And I will select AgentQuilt now, select, let's see whether it will require a bit of a confirmation again. Okay, probably not really. That's good. Okay, looks good. So now what I will be able to tell here is to set the workspace. And something else that probably I need to do is tell it that I need to make sure I have the ability to dictate from the Telegram. So essentially be able to call this button and send a message. So when I am on my phone or something else, I want just to send a voice note because, again, we are not typing here. So at the moment, that's not connected. Let me just come back here and I will. So I want to have whisper large turbo. So the good thing about large turbo is that it's extremely cheap. And what I can say here is, can you please wire the voice note from the Telegram bridge to the Open Router API? I'll provide an API key at the end of the message, which you can use. Again, I will change that API key later anyway. Something else that I forgot to mention is whenever we create a bot, we need to make sure that our bot only speaks to us. So I can go to my bots and choose the ET Circle bot and can check what are my bot settings, and I can check which groups are allowed, and I'm not allowing this to be available to other bots or to other groups. Yeah, so turn off the groups here, then we can check group privacy. Okay, that's looking good to me. So I want to change the name, call it ET Circ bot. Okay, back to bot. I want to check the bot settings, not bot, edit bot, privacy policy. Okay, that's fine. Edit name, edit about, edit bot pick. That's all good to me. We had an environment setting where we set the allowed user ID. So that's how we make sure that it's there. And obviously now I didn't allow any other group to add this with an additional precaution, but that's really not necessary. Something else now that I can do for my group is change, view the group info, and potentially, okay, to change the image with some of my logos. So let me grab this one. Oh, that's horrible. Probably not this one. Yeah, so I want this one. Okay, I'll set this one for the group image. And now the next thing that I can start doing is talking about how to set up the sub-agents, the rules, and anything in between. So currently it's Opus. I will make sure we choose Fable. Okay, so Fable. Yes, switch to Fable. Let's check the effort. I will put it on high. We don't need more than high. And clear it. Let me log in. I will pause for a second. Okay, so I just logged in, and what we need here is go to API keys and just generate a new one and call it whisper test. And I will make it to expire in 1 day and make a limit just in case. And that's my key. So let's see what Fable will do. Okay, so the Claude just returned and said that we can try to test. Okay, so I will go to the maintenance one and say I'm just sending a test message to check whether the speech to text whisper is properly set up. I don't think we actually set it up. This one, the maintenance one. I will go with an auth session. So here you can select an auth session that is already associated with this one. Okay, so I can see that right now this is working and all looks good to me. So we are ready to go. Okay, so now the last thing really for this very long, admittedly, is to set our workspace. And what I will type is, I'll start recording. This is our main workspace, but I want you to use the Obsidian Vault in another folder in the dev workspace called AgentQuilt. That one you'll use to take some information, such as how to set up our environment, some initial design specs, and what rules we are going to set into the solution, and so on. Can you please look into the Obsidian Vault and take that information of how to set up the environment? We'll also need to set up self-curating loops that runs every 15 messages or on closing session, compaction, or clearing. And there are some other things that we did as well that we put into the design. Can you please set this workspace initially? The idea is to use the Obsidian Vault from another folder that is next to this one called AgentQuilt -Vault. This is where you'll find a lot of design specs, requirements, and also how to set up the space with different agents and rules, Claude.md, some rules for the global Claude.md, as well as the self-curation loop that we'll need to run every, I think, 15 messages we agreed. Yeah, start with that and let's discuss it as you go. So now I'm essentially moving completely to Telegram, and that becomes my main space, and I'll work with that. It is much easier. I have essentially different groups with different machines that I work on. Working on different projects makes everything a lot easier to maintain and work it through other areas. So for me, that's a lot better than doing it with the Claude app. I know that there are some other third-party apps which allows you to do similar things, but for me, Telegram is by far the easiest to work on, especially after I developed that Claude Code bridge that works quite well, as you can see. Okay, so let's see what the agent will come back with. We'll do some review to see how all is set up, and then we'll wrap it up. Okay, so Claude came back with some feedback of what is done, and the good thing with the bridge that I developed is that we can have a look at Claude.md that was created, what we have in the file, and it's good to look at it and check what it is. We have some hooks installed, we have memories and conversations, and at the moment memories will be stored in the vault, which I'm happy with it. I was thinking or not whether to tie it back to Hindsight, but maybe I'll just push it separately in the vault, which will work across my across the environments, and later I will be able to curate and work some. Okay. So we have some sub-agents. We have the autonomous team, we have browser QA, delivery planner, engagement manager, and so on. So we have different ones. We have self-curation agent. So some of these bits I will need to read and review and make sure that it works well, as these files are something that we need to have our kind of human touch. We cannot just rely completely to Fable, even if it's the most amazing model at the moment. Okay, so there is probably some bits that worth checking. I need to maybe install some additional skills. We'll see what else we have. Actually, I can ask, can you please list all the skills we have at the moment? I have the feeling we don't have all the necessary skills at this stage. Can you please look into that and run the command? Again, some of these skills are the G stack, Gary Tan, I think, was, and has a good set of skills that we can use and utilize. More often than not, it's probably worth creating our own versions of these skills, not necessarily use them directly. But sometimes it can be a good way of doing it. A repo, there is also model routing, which we'll have a look at. And that's something that I took from Theo from T3 Chat. He went through on one of the videos he had about routing the models, because typically if I had the money, I would do everything with Fable. Although GPT-So is a great peer reviewer as a model, but the way we will do our work is we make sure we have Fable agent orchestrating other agents. And typically, Opus will be our workhorse in order to make sure we use our Claude subscription. But then the GPT 5.6 Soul will be used as a peer reviewer, as he's great with that. We also need to make sure that the Opus 5.0 tends to be quite sloppy, very verbose, and we will need to make sure that we have the right skills and rules to avoid that. To some degree, it applies also to GPT 5.6 so as well. And we will have some refinements there in the next couple of videos. So that's the software factory or machine that we just installed. I think we will wrap it here. The agent went through. I have the screenshot. By the way, something it is worth noting that command can be quite helpful in some situations where you don't see some messages just as a fallback, really. You're essentially seeing what is on the terminal that is connected to that topic. It is installed through the items here and multiple skills that we are going to use and refine in the next video. But yeah, we have the WSL, the Linux distribution working in Windows, the bridge, the self-curation, and we are ready really to start working on the AgentQuilt. And probably the last thing I will do is, can you please create a public repo with AgentQuilt the same way it was agreed for the in the Obsidian vote?